I understand that I go a little bit farther back in history than most people do. But I remember a day when I had a little brown box that sat on a table, and if I wanted to be entertained, I had to go to that box and I had to turn it on. Now, if you go far enough back, you also had to sit and wait for it to warm up, but let's be in the transistor era. You turned it on, and then the next thing you would do is you would tune the dial to get exactly where you wanted to be and what you were going to listen to. Our next lecturer, Mr. Lee Sumpter, is going to talk to us about the power of turning off.
Yeah, turning that box off, that's what.
Turning off and tuning in as opposed to turning on and tuning in.
Now, Richard, can we shut that door?
I can't.
It's a fire door?
It's a ventilation door.
Ventilation?
We would suffocate in here in 20 minutes if that door wasn't open.
Oh,
Trust me,
we go through this every time.
every time.
You know, year after year. Okay, my name is Lee Sumpter. Please come in. Entrez, installez-vous. Everybody's got a seat that wants one. Okay, I've been this. If those of you, nobody does know me. So anyway, if you did know me, this is a standard presentation that I do. It has different variations, but when I put it together for this this occasion, I made one fundamental error in my planning, and that was that I forgot that I was going to be preaching to the choir. Well, anyway, that's all right. We can deal with that. Actually, what I'm talking about as far as turning off all the media, all the stuff that's around us, all of our concerns, all the voices in our head, all of the worries that we carry around with us and cares. When I'm talking about this, then I know that a lot of you are maybe better at doing that than I am. But anyway, that's how we get from our everyday functioning to a spiritual functioning in a higher realm. Recently, I got kind of involved with watching television. I've had several times in my life when I had no TV. I still remember one place I started teaching, and at some point in the first few weeks or so, I mentioned that I didn't have a TV. Well, there was you could hear it. There was horror in the room. You could hear the breath going out of everybody. What do you do? Somebody recently asked me. I said, "Nah, my TV's got taken out by the hurricane." And somebody said, "Well, what do you do?" Well, you know, for thousands of years, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, people mostly heard birds and each other. If you study English literature, they're always going on about birds. The birds that are singing in the morning, birds are singing in the evening, all these expressions about birds. How many of you hear birds? Good. I'm glad to hear that. It's a great thing. But you know, if you're getting up and commuting and getting in an office, there ain't no birds. There are no birds in that life. Well, anyway, that's just an example. But if you think about it, for thousands of years, we heard birds and frogs. And we heard people. And we heard spirit. We could hear spirit. We weren't beset with commotion. So anyway, I got to watching TV last fall or thereabouts. And you know how it is. I'm not technically savvy enough to do the streaming thing. So anyway, I was watching, I guess it's network TV. And if there's a show that you're mildly interested in, God forbid, look out. If you're really interested, just give it up. Because you're going to get 4 minutes. 4 minutes of program. Ding! Now you're going to have 5, 6, 7 minutes of the same ads you just saw 4 minutes ago. And then the 4 minutes before that. And the 4 minutes before that. And I said to myself, Lee, your life is wasted trying to turn out advertisements that come on every 4 minutes. And it's the same ads, hour after hour. This won't do. So we had a hurricane. Hurricane took out my sunroom. The sunroom is where the TV was. So the sunroom got soaked. 2 windows got blown out, glass everywhere. So just like all my neighbors, you drive through my neighborhood, you'll see a room somewhere with just jam-packed full of furniture. Because there's the furniture for 2 or 3 rooms in one room. There's a couple rooms that are being rebuilt. And so the furniture had to move. Well, anyway, took the TV out. I took the TV, I had to get it out of the room so that the room could dry out and everything. I never managed to get it turned back on again. Never got it hooked up again. Still haven't yet. So anyway, if you want to connect with spirit, you've got to get to where it's quiet. Everybody knows that. You've got to find some way to do quiet. But you don't necessarily, it doesn't always have to be that way. Spirit will find a way to get through everything. Now, I have brought some samples of what can happen when you start focusing on getting quiet and listening to spirit. Now, this is a couple. Their name is actually Guggenheim. Bill and Judy Guggenheim, or Judy and Bill Guggenheim. They actually did a survey in several churches. They actually handed out questionnaires in a whole bunch of churches. And they actually did questionnaires for thousands of people. Thousands of people. So the questions were something like, do you feel like you've ever been contacted by somebody from the other side? Or some spirit from the other side? And in what form did that contact occur? How was, did you see, did you read a license plate on a car in front of you and it was a message? Or did you drive by a billboard and the phrases were all jumbled up and it was a message specifically for you? And the next time you went by, it wasn't there? Or did you, there's this thing about pennies on the ground that have a certain date on them and all that kind of thing. So they had this catalog of all different types of encounters with people from the other side. So they actually did a survey, they compiled it, and they have all of these categories in the table of contents. So you can almost, I haven't done this for a while, so here's a chapter on validations, timing, things you see in dreams, for instance. Okay, so there's a dozen or more, a couple of dozen of these categories of encounters with spirit. So this is a really great book, Hello from Heaven. Okay, it's I'm sure available on Amazon. It is. It may be nowadays people like to have books read to them. So maybe you can get it on one of those. Well, this is a book that you can have read to you. It has 2 narrators. And this is an example of what can be accomplished if you are able to tune in to spirit. And this is mine, okay? And I was going to say, it's available on audiobooks. So on your phone, you should have an audiobook icon. I don't know, mine did. It just got there. But most of you probably do have an audiobook. Many of you probably listen to audiobooks all the time, much more than I do. But anyway, you punch the audiobook icon and you either put in Judy's story, of which there are several, so you have to select. It's the one by Lee Sumpter. And this is my wife, who passed about 6 years ago. And we were able to maintain contact. I was able to do this with help from Barbara Harrison, who is probably doing something out there right now, maybe doing readings. But I had a number of people that helped me, and I was instructed that I had to get my vibrations up to a higher level. And my late wife, on the other side, had to learn to slow her vibrations down because the vibrations on the other side are much higher. And so we met. And she was able to describe to me what it was like to pass. And so this book was the result of that. I already knew quite a bit. I spent a certain amount of time on the other side from meditation, etc. But there were definitely surprises. So anyway, this has two narrators, a man and a woman, and you can download this and listen to it anytime you want. So that's one thing that's possible for you if you are tuned in. Now, this lady is Sonia Choquette. She used to have an office. She's a psychic medium, etc., in Chicago. I'm not sure if she's still in Chicago. Talk about a place with bad vibes. Oops, maybe somebody's from Chicago that's in here. But anyway, there are many, many people like Sonia who will have written books and who will explain to you particularly how to get in touch with your guides and stay in touch with your guides who are there. The only reason you have guides is so you can get help finding your way through this life that you have planned for yourselves. And one of those things that you planned, by the way, was to come to this meeting and hear this message. You think that you made a selection, that you saw an advertisement or you heard about this and you made a decision. But in fact, you came here to hear this message, to be reminded that this needs to be done. You are actually in the process right now. I'm a recruiter. You are being recruited, but you absolutely are. I'm just giving you a reminder, a friendly reminder. I have to remind myself. I have to be reminded as well to tune in to the other side so that it helps you, it helps them, and it helps everybody who's around you. So anyway, there are also many writers who have produced various forms of media on how to get in touch with your spirit guides. Some of us have several. Every now and then, some have just one or so. But if you want help, as the previous speaker was discussing, they're the ones that are there to help you. And they volunteered to do this for you for this lifetime. You may yourself be a spirit guide. You may actually function as a spirit guide for somebody in this life. When you're, let's see, your spirit may be guiding somebody else, or I have a spirit guide that guides me when I'm doing a life, and then when he's doing a life, I guide him. His name is Obregon. I don't know why it has that Spanish name, but he does. So, you know, this guiding thing is a mutual assistance program that goes on all the time. But if you let yourself be totally distracted by stuff, by matter is only energy anyway, you know. So if you let yourself be distracted by shiny stuff, crows like shiny stuff, you know. So, so if you let yourself be distracted by a lot of shiny stuff, then you will lose track of these guides and the guidance. And they will be standing around waiting patiently for you to come back. Okay, so tune in to what's out there because it's real, believe me, okay? It produces results like this, and like all of these results, I believe they have another book. I think there's a second book this thick of all of these encounters that people had with somebody, some spirit from the other side. Okay, so it's there. There are results. This is very, very real. All right, and so are the guides. And I wish you luck with that. I wish all of us luck. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm done.